Over the last 20 years, with all your support, we've been able to not only launch the original MyPillow, but also the MyPillow mattress topper, Giza Dream bed sheets, My Slippers, and the MyPillow bath towels. But there's so much more. In fact, we have over 200 products, and I'm so confident that you'll love each and every one of them that when you go to MyPillow.com now, you'll immediately receive a free gift valued at $20 just for checking out the website. No purchase necessary. Get everything from MyPillow blankets, sleepwear, kitchen towels, mattresses, duvets, pet beds, body pillows, comforters, couch pillows, bathrobes, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And remember, just for checking out MyPillow.com, you'll immediately receive a free gift valued at $20. No purchase necessary. This is a limited time promotion, so go to MyPillow.com now.
From the heart of our nation's capital, here's Family Research Council President Tony Perkins.
Welcome to this special Pray Vote Stand edition of Washington Watch. We're broadcasting live from the Omni Shoreham Hotel in Washington, D.C., the site of this year's Pray Vote Stand Summit. But best of all, we have a live in-person audience. They are alive. It's been a great day so far, and there's a lot more to go. The Pray Vote Stand Summit is a gathering of SageCons. What's a SageCon? Well, I'll tell you what, you can find out. Text SageCon, S-A-G-E-C-O-N, to 67742. That's SageCon to 67742. I might give you a hint a little bit later. But coming up this morning, we had a powerful and informative panel discussion with members of the House Freedom Caucus.
When you have a shutdown, which are almost as inevitably going to be because the Senate and the White House has no interest in standing up and defending you all and your interest in this country's interest, they're only interested in advancing radical leftist ideology, we have to hold the line.
That was Texas Congressman Chip Roy, a member of the panel this morning. The panel discussion was actually led by a former member of the House Freedom Caucus and now president of FRC Action, Jody Hice. He'll join me later with an overview of the House Freedom Caucus panel, and we'll discuss what's happened thus far at the Pray Vote Stand Summit. And marking the first anniversary of Mahsa Amini, an Iranian woman who died in police custody after allegedly violating the Islamic Republic's strict dress code for women, the U.S. and 3 other countries announced sanctions on Iranian officials today.
Today, we're announcing new sanctions against 29 other individuals and entities in connection with the Iranian regime's human rights abuses. The United States will continue to support Iranians and all people who are defending their human rights and fundamental freedoms.
That was Secretary of State Antony Blinken, but this announcement comes the same week that the Biden administration announced that it was releasing $6 billion to the regime. Doesn't that make America look a little schizophrenic? We're going to be joined by South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. We'll also discuss the question, in this post-Roe America, is there still a federal role in protecting the unborn? You'll want to miss that conversation. And in case you missed it, Vice President Harris kicked off her national Fight for Our Freedoms college tour.
There's an attack right now on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes.
Where supposed so-called extreme leaders are suggesting it's a bad thing to care about and pay attention to inequities. To say DEI is a bad thing.
DEI is a bad thing. Must have been a typo on her banner. I think it should have read attack on our freedoms. So here's a question for you. Would you rather live in Kamala Harris's world or that of maybe, say, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt?
And that's what we want to teach our young people, is there's no such thing as equal outcomes, but there is equal opportunities for every single kid in America, and especially in Oklahoma. That's the American dream, is that you get out of life what you put into it, your hard work, but it starts with education, getting those kids at the starting line.
So you can have the American dream on the right, or you can have the American nightmare on the left. Ryan Walters, the Oklahoma State School Superintendent, spoke this afternoon here at the summit, and he'll join me later on this edition of Washington Watch. And rounding out this Pray Vote Stand edition of Washington Watch is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who said the underlying driver of the decline of our American economy, military and culture, is the nation's spiritual decline. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Our word for today comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not love, I'm nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned but have not love, it profits me nothing. Now, Paul, that's the love chapter Paul wrote. But what is the definition of love? Paul's discussion here of love is love defined by God, the Greek word apageo. And it reads like this: for God so loved the world, the apageo, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Love in the New Testament is not a feeling, emotion, or even affirmation. It's a decision based on truth. To find out more about our journey through the Bible, go to frc.org/Bible. Well, as mentioned earlier today, 4 countries, including the United States, announced additional sanctions on Iran to mark the 1-year anniversary of the Iranian woman who died in police custody after officials claimed she violated the Islamic Republic's dress code for women. Countries partnering with the United States in the sanctions are Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Now, these sanctions come amidst the upcoming prisoner swap between the United States and Iran, which included the Biden administration's agreement to release $6 billion to the world's most dangerous state sponsor of terrorism. Now, despite direct defiance from the Iranian president, Raisi, as to how he will spend this $6 billion in cash, the White House continues to double down in their defense of the deal. Joining me now to discuss this is the senator from the state of South Carolina, Lindsey Graham. He serves on 4 Senate committees, including the Senate Judiciary Committee, where he's the ranking member, and the Senate Appropriations Committee. Senator Graham, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to see you.
Glad to be here. My goal is to be taller than the mic one day. I don't know if I'll ever get there. So anyway, I hope you can hear it.
It's a big mic.
You may not see me, but I hope you can hear me.
It's a big mic. So let's talk about this. You've been outspoken about this fact that this is, am I incorrect in saying this is that we're looking schizophrenic on the national stage?
No, we're dumb as dirt. We're dumb as dirt on the world stage. I don't know how you say that in Latin, but to me it's dumb as dirt to give $6 billion to religious Nazis who are on the terrorist state sponsor of terrorist list to turn over 5 Americans. Don't you think that incentivizes more Americans to be kidnapped? What are they going to do with the money? Build schools? No, they're going to put it into the war machine. The first thing you got to understand in life is, who are you dealing with? The people we just gave money to, if they could, will kill everybody in Israel. They're not trying to build a nuclear power plant. They're trying to build a nuclear bomb to kill the Israelis and come after us. That's the last group of people I would give $6 billion to. This is dumb as dirt and dangerous.
When I'm looking to discuss foreign policy issues in the Senate, I go to you because I think you're a foreign policy expert.
Because I'm not as dumb as dirt.
Well, you're not as dumb as dirt. Actually, you're quite insightful when it comes to the foreign policy issues. And, you know, the Biden administration defending this, saying, oh, it's going to be used for humanitarian purposes. How can we trust Iran to not use this money or supplant money, just like Planned Parenthood, where Planned Parenthood in Title X funding can do, in one room, they can do family planning, in the next, they can do abortions, and their overhead's covered by government money?
Well, all you can count on is that the Iranian regime will enact their plan for the world. What do they want? They want to purify Islam in their own image. They want to destroy the one and only Jewish state. And they want to come after us. That's not me saying that. That's them. When you decide what to say to the world, the phrase death to Israel and death to America is constantly said from this regime. I think they mean it. So to give $6 billion to a terrorist state who's kidnapped Americans incentivizes more kidnappings, and the money will be used to build up a war machine that's dismantling the Mideast. Yemen, Syria. This is the most provocative regime since Hitler, and this is a huge mistake. And all the Arabs who are looking to America to lead now are in doubt. Donald Trump put Iran in a box, and that made the Arab world believe that we were a reliable partner. Without good judgment and clarity, the world becomes a dangerous place. This is bad judgment and sends a mixed message.
I want to move on, but one final question on that front. If this were one bad decision, then, we might say, okay.
Yeah.
But this is not the only bad foreign policy decision this administration has made.
No, getting out of Afghanistan was a disaster of all disasters. Look what's happened. You have a broken border, and the Taliban are back in charge. It's just a matter of time till a terrorist group comes through our border and kills a bunch of us. They're trying to empower the terrorist state of Iran rather than isolate it. The Arabs were coming on board to recognize Israel because they trusted the United States. Now there's doubt in the Arab world about this administration. So we have a chance to get Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel, but this deal with Iran is putting doubt in everybody's mind. So you need clarity. You need to stand on principle, and the principle of this administration is hard to understand if you live in the Mideast.
Senator Lindsey Graham, I want to move to a domestic policy issue, one you've been very clear on. In the wake of the overturn of Roe v. Wade in the midterm election, there was many that blamed the poor showing for Republicans based on that issue. But it wasn't the issue. It was the way Republicans dealt with the issue. They didn't talk about the issue. They ran from an issue that for nearly 4 decades they had championed.
Well, let's put it this way. The answer to what do you think about abortion is not to build a wall.
Right.
If you don't want to talk about the unborn, maybe you shouldn't be in this business. It's okay to disagree about abortion. What's not okay is not to have an answer. And here's my answer. I believe that this is a state issue up to a point. The Dobbs decision overturned Roe v. Wade, which was a great moment in constitutional history. Now states have the ability to decide, based on their own judgment, the rights of the unborn. And what Lindsey Graham is saying, I agree with that up to a point. And here's what I'm saying to America. At 15 weeks, no matter where you're conceived, whether it's California, South Carolina, or New York, you feel pain as a child, you can suck your thumb. And to dismember that child at 15 weeks is barbaric. It puts us out of line with the civilized world. And China and North Korea allow abortion on demand up to the moment of birth. I am saying to my Republican colleagues, let's fight for the rights of the unborn in Washington, D.C. by saying at 15 weeks we will draw a line and stop abortion because it's barbaric. 47 of 50 European nations limit abortion between 12 and 15 weeks. Surely we can be as bold as the French. They're at 14 weeks.
But you're not saying the states can do even more.
You can be more restrictive, but the question for the United States is, do you want to be a country that will allow a baby to be dismembered 7, 8, 9 months? Do you? I don't. Democrats will not give you an answer when they will provide limitations. They say we want Roe v. Wade. That's all we want. Well, tell me, when is viability? Pick a week, Kamala Harris. You're talking in circles. To those running for president and our party, I will be introducing a bill that is clear. It will be a national minimum standard. States can do more. There'll be exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. But we're going to say at 15 weeks, we should limit abortion on demand. We should stop it. And if you're not for that, if you cannot sign a bill protecting a baby who is well developed, can suck their thumb and feel pain, you're in the wrong business.
And Senator, you and I have talked about this. I'm pro-life from the moment of conception, but I understand how we pass policies by arriving at consensus.
Right.
And there is consensus on this bill. There is consensus where we have about 65% of Americans agree with this position.
Tony, why are we having this debate? We've been the party of the unborn since I've been around. We're talking about putting America in line with the civilized world.
Right.
We're talking about rejecting the idea that you can abort a baby in California up to the moment of birth, and that's what their law is. And Democrats in the United States Senate voted on a bill that will allow abortion on demand up to the moment of birth. That is an idea that needs to be challenged.
Senator, we're out of time, but you and I are going to have this conversation
Stay
a lot
tuned.
more. We've got a town hall meeting for life coming up in South Carolina on October 22nd.
Yes,
we'll have
sir.
more details about that. Senator Graham, always great to see you.
Thank you. God
Thanks
bless.
for joining us. All right, folks, don't go away. On the other side of the break, the president of FRC Action, Jody Heiss, joins me.
In recent years, Christians have seen an accelerated assault on not just our core beliefs, but their very foundation. Now is the time to build on that foundation, strengthen our faith, and learn how to translate our beliefs into actions that engage the culture around us. That's the purpose behind this year's Pray, Vote, Stand Summit. Believe and engage. Pray, Vote, Stand Summit is a national gathering of spiritually active, governance-engaged conservatives, or SageCons. We'll hear from Christian leaders, worldview experts, government officials, and more. We'll discuss important issues like the sanctity of life, religious freedom, protecting students, strengthening families, praying for our nation, and how you can impact America's future from a biblical worldview. Together, we can believe and engage. Join us September 15th through 17th in Washington, D.C. for this pivotal event. Register now at PrayVoteStand.org.
Everything we do begins as an idea. Before there can be acts of courage, there must be the belief that some things are worth sacrificing for. Before there can be marriage, there is the idea that man should not be alone. Before there was freedom, there was the idea that individuals are created equal. It's true that all ideas have consequences, but we're less aware that all consequences are the fruit of ideas. Before there was murder, there was hate. Before there was a Holocaust, there was the belief by some people that other people are undesirable. Our beliefs determine our behavior, and our beliefs about life's biggest questions determine our worldview. Where did I come from? Who decides what is right and wrong? What happens when I die? Our answers to these questions explain why people see the world so differently. Debates about abortion are really disagreements about where life gets its value. Debates over sexuality and gender and marriage are really disagreements about whether the rules are made by us or for us. What we think of as political debates are often much more than that. They're disagreements about the purpose of our lives and the source of truth. As Christians, our goal must be to think biblically about everything. Our goal is to help you see beyond red and blue, left and right, to see the battle of ideas at the root of it all. Our goal is to equip Christians with a biblical worldview and help them advance and defend the faith in their families, communities, and the public square. Cultural renewal doesn't begin with campaigns and elections. It begins with individuals turning from lies to truth. But that won't happen if people can't recognize a lie and don't believe truth exists. We want to help you see the spiritual war behind the political war, the truth claims behind the press release, and the forest from the trees.
Welcome back to a special Pray, Vote, Stand edition of Washington Watch. We're broadcasting from the Omni Shoreham Hotel here in D.C. before a live audience, a live studio audience. And I tell you what, they're excited, and it's because we've had a great day here. And we're halfway through September now, with government funding set to expire at the end of the month, unless a budget agreement is reached, as conservatives in Congress look to rein in the Biden administration's reckless spending. Well, next week, Republicans on the House Budget Committee will meet to consider a long-term blueprint for the nation's budget, which many expect to offer a path to reduce our $33 trillion national debt. That's $33 trillion with a T. Well, earlier today, several members from the House Freedom Caucus participated in a panel here at the Pray, Vote, Stand Summit to discuss how they're working to hold the line in the budget negotiations.
We are now projected to have a $2 trillion deficit. $2 trillion, when we are not in any hot war or, frankly, any military conflict around the globe. And at the same time, the pandemic has long been over. So if you're running $2 trillion deficit, Fitch Ratings just downgraded our debt, there have to be some substantive changes.
That was Congressman Byron Donalds of Florida. Joining me now to discuss this is FRC Senior Vice President Jody Heiss and President of FRC Action, who led that panel with members of the House Freedom Caucus. Jody? Welcome back.
Great to be with you always, Tony.
Actually, you're the host on Friday, so I guess you should be welcoming me, huh?
No.
So let's talk about that panel real quick. The Freedom Caucus is committed to reining in this out-of-control government spending.
Yeah, and this is something they've been on top of for a long, long time, but now is the opportunity actually to get it done. And I believe there's a high likelihood that's going to happen. What's at stake is a potential government shutdown. And as you well know, the majority is so thin right now. The Freedom Caucus has the leverage to say we're going to rein in spending or else.
You know, I was thinking about that this morning. There's been so many times that we've had the summits. Now, before Pray Vote Stand, it was the Value Voter Summit. And I can't tell you the number of years that we had those summits where we were in the midst of a potential government shutdown. In fact, one time we did have a government shutdown. So, I mean, this is something that is reoccurring because Congress is not doing the appropriations the way they should.
That's right, and that was one of the things that was supposed to take place under the leadership of Kevin McCarthy. And, you know, we're going to see, I mean, they're making some progress. But actually, the Freedom Caucus has said there's about 5 or 6 different things that they want in order to prevent a government shutdown. They're well aware they're probably not going to get all of those. So the line that's been drawn in the sand, it appears to me at least, is this whole issue of spending and getting it under control, at least to the pre-COVID levels.
Which makes perfect sense because the COVID spending was supposed to be emergency spending. All right, Jody, let's move on. Give me your highlight from today, other than your panel and your moderation of the panel.
On.
Give me the highlight. The highlight today for you here at the summit. It's been so good.
Yeah, I was going to say the summit has just been outstanding. You know, every speaker that comes on, every panel that comes on, you think it doesn't get any better than that. And then here comes the next one. I mean, we started off with Jonathan Cahn this morning, who absolutely knocked it out of the park.
What do you think, Jonathan Cahn? Was it good? Yeah.
Yeah, and we couldn't have started in a better way than having him. And then it's just gone through. You know, we ended up the morning with Riley Gaines. I've heard her story over and over and over.
NCAA swimmer that's taken on this whole issue of men and women's sports. A courageous young woman.
Incredible woman. And, you know, Vice President Pence, I mean, it's gone on and on. So it's really hard to draw a favorite.
What did you think of Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson of North Carolina?
Always phenomenal.
What did you think?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So, look, it would be totally unfair to choose one over another. It's just been an outstanding summit.
And here, Pray, Vote, Stand. That's not just the name of the summit. That is actually what we're doing. We're praying, but we are preparing to vote. We're doing education, information, and we're equipping people to go home to stand. And so there's just so much being offered here. And of course, tomorrow afternoon, breakout sessions. And all of this is being streamed. Folks that are familiar with Real Life Network, they can download that app, or they can go to prayvotestand.org and watch tonight. Who's going to be here tonight, Jody?
We've got a couple of little guests who are going to be with us. One of them, former President Trump. And you can already just feel the energy and the excitement in the air. It's going to be an incredible evening.
Yeah, we're going to have Vivek Ramaswamy, and we're going to have Governor Ron DeSantis, who's actually going to be joining me here just a moment on the program as well. And so you can watch that tonight. Go to prayvotestand.org, and you can be a part of that event. FRC Action, they're a major sponsor of this event. We've been talking on panels about education, about life. There's something for everyone. We all have our place on the wall. We all have a responsibility to do something.
Well, absolutely. And you know, Tony, that's what we are as a country. We are a country, the entire governmental system of which does not work without involvement of the people. I mean, that's the way our government works. And so that applies both to people stepping up to the plate to run for office, as well as those who are involved in voting, praying, and helping individuals get elected. So, yeah, this has been an incredible time of training and encouragement and hope. It all wrapped up together, and I'm very confident that we're going to see some benefits from this summit for a long time to come.
We're almost out of time, Jody, but one of the areas that FRC Action's been focused on, I mentioned we had a panel on education, but equipping people to run for school boards. We've got elections coming up. We're moving into an election cycle. This is a time that people should be praying about whether or not they should step into this arena. Could be a school board race, it could be city council, state legislature, many ways that people can make a difference.
Absolutely, and one of the biggest battles that we're going to see in this upcoming election revolves around parental rights. And again, no one cares for the child like the parents do, and we are not in a relationship of government having authority over parents or children. Yeah. That is not a biblical position at all, and so it's been an honor for FRC Action to be engaged in training many people to step up to the plate and run for school board.
Well, Jody Heiss, we are so thrilled to have you here at FRC and FRC Action as the president of FRC Action.
Thank you so much. It's my honor.
All right, and folks, stick with us because that's actually what we're going to be talking about next when it comes to education. We're going to be talking to the superintendent of education from Oklahoma, where they're taking a strong stand on behalf of parents and what's happening in our kids. In fact, the superintendent, Ryan Walters, saying, you know what, maybe we need prayer back in our schools. Maybe we need the Bible back in our schools. Hey, it's worked before. Maybe we got to try it again. Don't go away. We're back with more after this.
All of us are born with the desire to find truth and meaning. Where did I come from? What happens when I die? While our answers to these questions may divide us, we are united in our need for the freedom to answer life's biggest questions and make life's biggest decisions for ourselves. That's why religious freedom matters for everyone. Religious freedom matters because the powerful have long wanted to control those who are less powerful. Religious freedom matters because the freedom of those who are different is often threatened by those who believe different is dangerous. Leah Sheribu, a Christian teenager in Nigeria, remains a captive of Boko Haram for her refusal to renounce her Christian faith. Chinese pastor Wang Yi is serving a 9-year sentence for speaking publicly against the Chinese government. All of this because people in power decided different is dangerous. At the Center for Religious Liberty at Family Research Council, we promote religious freedom for everyone because the only alternative is religious freedom for no one. We encourage Americans and the American government to engage and advocate for the persecuted, and they do. We work every day to bring good news to the afflicted, to proclaim liberty to captives and freedom to prisoners. We do it because that's what Jesus does. We work to give freedom to others because we ourselves have been set free.
Back to this special Pray Vote Stand edition of Washington Watch as we are broadcasting live from the Omni Shoreham Hotel in Washington, D.C. before a live audience. An audience of SageCon, spiritually active, governance engaged conservatives. You can find out if you're a SageCon. You can take the survey. It's very quick, and you'll get the results almost immediately. Text the word SageCon, SAGECON, to 67742 and find out if you are a SageCon. Well, earlier today at the Pray Vote Stand Summit, we featured an education panel titled Strategies for Saving America's Schools and School Children, which is really the focus. It's the children. It featured insightful comments from education experts on combating the indoctrination the left continues to push on children and families, ignoring the role of parents. Well, joining me now, straight from his appearance at the Pray Vote Stand Summit, is someone who works daily in the state of Oklahoma to restore schools to his state, to what their mission should be. Educating children, helping them learn. Joining me now to discuss this is the Oklahoma State Superintendent of Schools, Ryan Walters. Ryan, welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you so much, Tony, for having me on. And, we're fighting back against this left-wing indoctrination in Oklahoma. We see it from the teachers union. We see it from the Biden administration. We see it from radicals in our own schools. And we are going to continue to ensure that parents' rights are protected, and also that we're ensuring that we actually tell our kids about the Judeo-Christian values of this country. And we're not going to allow them to force a state-sponsored atheism on our kids, which is what our schools are doing.
Yeah, and of course, Oklahoma, one of the reddest of red states. I went to school, grew up in Oklahoma. I'm actually encouraged because you're not the first superintendent of education I've had. I've had a number, and this is something new. More and more conservatives running for superintendent position. This is an elected position. You were elected when?
In last November.
You've wasted no time creating controversy. I like it. Going right to work. So what prompted you to run for this office?
So my background is I was a history teacher from a small rural town in Oklahoma. I then now have 4 kids, and as a parent, that really changes you. And you start to see, I heard so many frustrations as a teacher of what was going on in our schools. And then as a parent, as I began to campaign around the state, we continue to hear parents talking about, what has happened to an education system that used to encourage us to play such a crucial role in our kids' lives. And now we're being boxed out. We're hearing about these pornographic materials in our schools. We have books like Gender, Queer, and Flamer being pushed upon our kids with images so graphic. I asked the news media to show them, say, let your viewers decide if this is appropriate. And of course they tell me, well, we can't show that. There might be kids watching. I literally had a reporter say that. I go, well, that's kind of the point here, isn't it? So we've got groups of folks that are pushing those books, Gender, Queer, and Flamer, while at the same time telling us, we don't want kids reading the Constitution. We don't want kids having the Bible in schools. That just shows you the absurdity of their position and how far we've come. Parents want common sense back in our schools, and they want us to take this fight on.
People talk about there's all this conflict. Well, the reason is that this is the first time we're in an era when people are actually standing up to the left and saying, no, we're just not doing it anymore. You've pushed us far enough. And look, you said we should have the Bible back in the schools as a curriculum course. We should have, we need to bring God back into the classroom. You're being threats of being sued. Tell us about what all this stuff is happening.
Right. I've been sued a few times. That's a controversial position now. And you're exactly right. I love how you said that, Tony. They don't want conflict because they just want us to roll over and to continue to allow them to push state-sponsored atheism. And that's what it is. If you don't talk to our kids about the line from the Declaration, you're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. When you read the founders, it's clear. They believed our Judeo-Christian values would make us an exceptional country. So we have to respond to that, and we've got to play offense too. And that's what I'm saying. Hey, everybody, we are going to talk about this in schools. We are going to allow for prayer in schools because we want God back in our schools.
Now, does the Attorney General in the state of Oklahoma defend your positions if you get sued, or how does that work in Oklahoma?
So right now it's, I have an attorney at the agency. And again, you've seen this with President Trump as well. What they do is when we crush the left in an election, and we're crushing them with our school choice policies and all these other initiatives, they try to invalidate it. They go and we're going to sue you, and we're going to tie you up in court, and we're going to sue you personally. And that's what we continue to see them doing. But, we're never going to back down to radicals. We're going to continue to stand with parents. We're going to continue to stand up for people's religious liberties. And we're absolutely not going to allow these lawsuits or any kind of left-wing activism to slow us down.
And Ryan, you've got the governor that is working with you too.
Oh, hey, it helps when you have a great governor. And we have a fantastic governor, and Governor Kevin Stitt, who is right there. He believes in protecting religious liberties in the state. He has been a tremendous conservative governor that has been there with us every step of the way. So absolutely, when you've got a governor like that, it makes a huge difference.
So very quickly, we've got about 30 seconds left. What are some of the other ideas? Obviously, you've been firing these rapid fire ideas coming in your first year. What are some of the other things on the drawing board?
Absolutely. You have to take on the teachers' unions. The reality is it is the teachers' unions who have controlled so much of what's going on in our schools. So we're not going to allow them to deduct money from teachers' paychecks. They continue to funnel teachers' paycheck money into political campaigns against Republicans, against conservatives. Well, we're not going to allow it anymore. We're going to put parents in charge of their kids' education. We're going to continue to fight back against, it is truly demonic demonic when you see the way that the spiritual war is being waged on our kids. We will continue to protect parent rights, and we're going to continue to move and create more of a school choice environment than any other state in the country. Oklahoma is going to lead on this. We are leading. We're going to continue to put parents in charge of their kids' education.
And you're going to create a safe space for all the liberals that hate what you're doing. It's called California.
I was about to say, it's another state.
Okay.
That's right.
Superintendent Walters, great to have you with us. Thanks so much. Appreciate what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Tony.
All right. Hey, Oklahoma's a great state, but you know what? We need to make every state red. How about that? All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about another red state where great policies are going forward, and we're joined by the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. Joins us next. Don't go away.
It begins here, and here, and here. Every day. Before you stand, you need solid ground. Standing in a culture that wants you to surrender the truth won't work unless you have a firm foundation. At Family Research Council, we have that firm foundation, and you can find us standing. We stand for the value of all human life. We stand for the right of families to flourish. And every day we stand for your freedom to believe and to live out those beliefs both at home and abroad. We work with government officials, educating them on the issues from a biblical worldview. And when necessary, we hold them accountable. We equip Christians across America to be informed and to take action in their communities. With our daily radio program, television appearances, and vast online presence, we reach people where they are. We envision an America where all human life is valued, families flourish, and religious liberty thrives. And that won't be realized if we're not standing. Stand for faith. Stand for family. Stand for freedom. Stand with us at FRC.
I'm often asked by people, Tony, how do you stay encouraged? How do you deal with all of the stuff in Washington, D.C., the negative policies that are attacking our faith, our family, and our freedoms? Well, you want me to let you in on the secret? It's called the Word of God. And that is why the Family Research Council embarked on Stand on the Word, a 2-year journey through the Bible. It's a chronological Bible reading plan with just 10 to 15 minutes a day. In 2 years, you will have covered the entire Bible. And to go along with this, Monday through Friday, I do a morning devotional that goes along with the reading of the day. It's all designed to encourage you on this journey because the Word of God, as the psalmist said, in my affliction, here's my comfort. Your Word gives me life. That is our source of strength. To find out more, go to tonyperkins.com or frc.org/Bible. And I invite you to join me every morning for our Stand on the Word Bible devotion.
This fall, believers from across America will gather in our nation's capital. We'll hear from government leaders, policy experts, and leading Christian voices, learning how we can engage in government at every level, from local school boards to state legislatures to Congress and even the White House, to win back the soul of our nation. Join with us for the Pray, Vote, Stand Summit, Believe and Engage, September 15th through 17th. Register now at PrayVoteStand.org.
FRC, celebrating 40 years with Dr. James Dobson.
And I just want to congratulate you on everything that's said and done there. I believe in the Family Research Council and the work that it's doing. There aren't very many left that are that true blue, that conform with biblical truth. But this organization has done that, and I congratulate you for it.
Welcome back to this Pray Vote Stand edition of Washington Watch. We're broadcasting live from the Omni Shoreham Hotel in Washington, D.C., and we have a live audience. They're still with us. And by the way, tomorrow night we'll be having a 40th anniversary gala here at the Omni Shoreham, and you'll be hearing more from Dr. Dobson and some of the others that were a part of the founding of the Family Research Council 40 years ago. And you can actually participate in that. You can come, be a part of it, or you can join us online. You can go to PrayVoteStand.org, and there's a couple different ways that you can participate and watch those events tomorrow and tomorrow night. The summit will continue tonight. Coming up a little bit later, we'll be having former President Donald Trump will be speaking. Vivek Ramaswamy will be speaking. Oz Guinness will be speaking. We'll also be hearing from the governor of Florida, who was supposed to join me here on the set, but apparently is caught in D.C. traffic and is a little bit late. So I don't know if he's going to make it for the program or not, but we'll see. We'll see how fast his security team can drive. But joining me here to kind of run through some of the issues that we've dealt with today is very reliable go-to man here at the Family Research Council. He's always in the shadows to jump on the program when we need to discuss some issues. And that is Travis Weber, who is the Vice President of Policy and Government Affairs here at the Family Research Council. Travis, welcome back.
Thank you, Tony.
I do want to talk about one of the policy issues that we were discussing on the last panel. On the Life panel, we had Senator Graham on a few moments ago, earlier in the program, talking about the pain-capable bill that would draw a line for nationwide on abortion when a baby feels pain, sucks its thumb. But I want to talk about something Chris Smith brought up. This is something that your team has been very involved in, and it's really kind of in the policy weeds. And so I want you to explain it just a little bit, because it is significant because we're seeing the Biden administration push in almost every policy, abortion, the LGBTQ agenda, and climate. It's their unholy trinity. Let's talk about PEPFAR. What is it, and what are they trying to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is a program many people, it's a little bit, what's that? I haven't really been, paying attention to. It's something a little bit off the radar. But the reason we're paying attention to it now is it's been around for 20 years, and it's been reauthorized every 5 years, sending billions of American tax dollars out the door. Those tax dollars should not be going out the door to fund abortion and fund ideology that is coercively being held over the heads of African countries. The United States is storing up judgment for itself, and we are tarnishing our reputation in the eyes of the world. We're being accused of holding this up. In reality, the Biden administration is the one who's moved the goalposts, and they've done that in 3 ways. One, they've repealed the Mexico City policy that had been in place under Trump. That had prevented organizations promoting abortion, receiving this money. Now we have $1.34 billion of our money that have funded abortions under Biden, PEPFAR money, gone to these organizations. Biden's unilaterally announcing reimagining PEPFAR, his vision for PEPFAR, which will include advancing sexual and reproductive health through a program that's supposed to help AIDS victims. This is shameful. It's shameful that any program will be doing this. So what's up for reauthorization this year, we're going to say, as a Christian organization, needs to be honoring of God. It's not. And here's how we can fix it. It's actually pretty simple. You attach the Expand Mexico City policy to the program. It's fixed. They don't want to do that, but that's the simple solution. So it's important that people understand that the Biden administration has unilaterally moved the goalpost on this by changing the terms and conditions through the executive branch. They can reverse that. It can go through.
So if those conditions are put on there, the Mexico City type language, the money would go forward to address what the legislation or the statute actually says it's supposed to address.
Right.
AIDS.
Right. It would help solve the AIDS crisis in Africa, which it was intended to, and it was created to do.
But we're not the only ones that are raising concerns about this. Many of those countries that this money is going to, they're complaining about it.
You had scores of African leaders writing letters to Congress saying, we do not want the United States pushing abortion and LGBT policies into these programs to our countries.
So kind of explain how that works. So this money goes, and it often goes to non-governmental organizations, what are called NGOs. And so in the state of, or in these African countries, they'll be giving, the U.S. government through PEPFAR funds would be giving money to organizations that would be agitating to change the laws in that country.
In some cases, yes, and then they'll subcontract with organizations that might more aggressively try to do that. But one argument we've heard is, well, we can't prove that the money is actually being used to perform an abortion, like you're going to mark a $20 bill with a red marker and track it all the way through the abortion. No, we're not saying we're proving that's not the point. The point is when you fuel these organizations who say they promote abortion, you're fueling that whole agenda.
You know, I had an old farmer one time told me, when you throw a rock into a pig pen, you can tell which one you hit when it squeals. I mean, that's pretty profound. There was a demonstration this week on Capitol Hill in the Speaker's office that was protesting over the PEPFAR not being reauthorized. What kind of groups were up there squealing?
We're seeing a lot of squealing right now by abortion groups and those who want to push their own sexual agenda from the West onto African countries who, frankly, are holding on to Christian moral values in large part. So Tony, that's an excellent point. When you look at social media, some of the groups that are standing up and crying foul about this are pro-abortion groups. So why would they have an interest in what are they concerned about PEPFAR held up? They're concerned because they're not going to get their money to put in their coffers and then be more flush with cash to do their thing, which is promoting abortion, spreading that message, and by their own words, and these are PEPFAR recipients, attempting to working to change laws in Africa on life.
And the LGBTQ, those things are walking in lockstep with one another.
Right. And this is we just did a report tracking where the LGBT agenda. Family Research Council produced a report tracking where it's being pushed in foreign policy across the board, and it is really outrageous when you really look at that in its breadth. And you add this on top of the embassies flying pride flags, the United States marching in these parades. The United States is really sending the signal, this is what we care about, not human rights as God defines them and as we've traditionally fought for them. We're sending the signal that this is our priority, abortion, LGBT, and climate. This is dangerous. We're on a dangerous ground right now.
Travis, talking about that, when we're now exporting this and we're kind of offensive to a large portion of the world that is still holding to values rooted in Judeo-Christian values, and then even in the Islamic world, we're offending. When you heard Rabbi Jonathan Kahn this morning talking about the spiritual nature of this, do you see that playing out in policy?
Absolutely. I mean, many people who are involved in this may not say that, but the reality is that the West, the United States, is now bowing down at the altar of certain gods that we are then forcing others to bow down to as well. If that wasn't the case, why is it so coercive? It's coercive because there's worship involved. And, this is not only is this shameful for that reason, not only is it a departure from worship of the one God who deserves our worship, but it's disadvantageous. We're competing with China for influence, and we're telling African countries, you need to agree with us on this, or we're not going to help you. China's going in there happy to help.
Right.
We're shooting ourselves in the foot in addition to promoting stuff that is polluting the minds and families of these countries.
These are very poor countries. They're dependent upon, I've met with ambassadors and others that have discussed how the U.S. is strong-arming them because they're poor countries. They rely on this foreign funding from the United States, and these strings are being attached. Either they change their laws on life, on marriage and human sexuality, or they don't get the money. And so China, as you said, is coming in flush with U.S. dollars from us buying all the trade imbalance, buying all the Chinese products, and they're doing their Belt and Roads initiative, going in and buying up property and working with these other governments.
Yeah, I mean, so there's
because they don't care about the values.
They're happy to go in. They're happy to go in. So we've got 3 or 4 reasons that even if someone is just looking at whether this is effective, you must say it is not effective. So then, if it's not effective, and that's rather obvious, why are we keeping on doing it? We're keeping on doing it because of the worship that is happening now. It's almost irrational. We're bound to bowing down at these altars of abortion, LGBT sexual aberrations, and pushing them. And we're seeing it domestically too, even with the Tuberville vote, the whole situation, refusing to hold a vote because you do not want to give up a abortion policy you've been pushing, the Biden administration holding on to that because they're holding on to that so hard. They don't want to have the vote.
You brought that up, so we need to explain that. Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, who is held up about 30 military promotions. They're not. He's put a hold on them, which means there's no unanimous consent. So you have to vote on each one. You have, at the end of this month, you will have the term of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs will expire, and there'll be a new one that needs to be voted on. Senator Tuberville and other Republicans said, well, put him on the floor. We'll have a vote on that one. But Chuck Schumer, the scare leader in the Senate, says we're not going to have a vote because that would prove that we could actually solve this problem. And as Travis said, they're more devoted to abortion and their unilateral change in policy in the military when it comes to abortion than they are actual military readiness.
And the irrational nature in which this is playing out really exposes that. And Tony, I think this is just something we need to continue to point out, continue to explain, and stand for righteousness out of conviction. Interviews on the PEPFAR issue and just explaining, as believers, this is what we believe about these matters, and this is why the position we've taken is the case.
And Travis, when we're here at the Pray Vote Stand Summit and we talk about praying for our nation, we're talking about voting. This is the results of elections, and very clear. I mean, it is day and night, black and white, whatever analogy you want to use. In the previous administration, in the State Department, and I know this for fact because as the chairman of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, I worked very closely with Secretary Pompeo and the president. The number one foreign policy objective of the United States under President Trump was international religious freedom.
Yeah.
Religious freedom doesn't even get a glimpse of attention.
If you look
under this administration,
if you're in the seat of the representative African government and the U.S. embassy is showing up, do they think that we care about religious freedom? That's not the signal that's being sent. It's not the undercurrent. It's not the overt statement. This is our priority. So clearly, it's a major problem. And Tony, just to dealing with the administration, just take the one example of the Mexico City policy. That is one policy among what President Trump did. That policy alone would be dealing with this PEPFAR issue, protecting billions of dollars, billions, from going out the door either to help fund abortion or protect life.
So why do you have some Republicans, Chris Smith alluded to this today, you have some Republicans that are saying, let's just get it approved?
Yeah, I think there's several things. One is, some are saying, we haven't yet wrapped our heads around this. Okay. But once you wrap your head around it, it's pretty clear. And the reason, the ones who know what's going on, who I think don't want to move ahead, I believe, they really desire to find a solution where there might not be a solution under these circumstances that can be found. We can't compromise when we can't control what the other party always wants to do. And if they don't want to accept the feasibility of the Mexico City policy and option, that's clear. So it's not a matter of not knowing the solution. It's a matter of not wanting to accept it. So I believe there's not the willingness to have a conviction to move ahead. It's this desire to really maintain a bipartisan consensus, which has been there, but might be crumbling. And we need to stand on conviction and not compromise to maintain the consensus.
Right. We can't sacrifice truth for unity. We just got a couple minutes left, Travis. We've got the government shutdown looming as we've got about 9 legislative days to craft some kind of funding bill. What should folks be looking for in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, so we're going to continue to see the situation that we've been discussing, been alluding to in terms of the demands being placed on reigning in control of the budget. Tony, in the midst of this discussion, though, is a lot of the conservatives standing up for good pro-life policies, pro-religious liberty policies in the midst of the budget and say, let's get some provisions in there that are going to protect life, protect religious liberty, protect family as well. So we're doing what we can to make sure those are elevated in the discussion. But in terms of the bigger picture, we're going to do our part, but we have to wait and see.
We need to pray, we need to vote, we need to stand.
Right.
Sounds like a good summit, doesn't it?
It's a good summit.
All right. Travis Weber, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And folks, I want to thank you for joining us here, our live audience at the Omni Shoreham Hotel here, where we are gathered for the Pray Vote Stand Summit 2023. In fact, you can tune in tonight. We've still got a lot more ahead tonight and then all day tomorrow and tomorrow night. So go to prayvotestand.org and you'll find out more information. Also, you can take the SageCon survey. Are you a SageCon? This is a gathering of SageCons. Maybe you should be here. Take the SageCon survey. Text the word SageCon to 67742. That's 67742, the word SageCon, SAGECON. You'll get a quick link. fill it out, about 10 questions, and you'll get a response back very quickly and find out whether or not you're a SageCon. And then you can make your plans to join us next year at the Pray Vote Stand Summit. All right, we're out of time, folks, but I do want to encourage you, check it out, prayvotestand.org. Tonight, we have former President Donald Trump, we have Oz Guinness, we have Vivek Ramaswamy, and we have Governor Ron DeSantis will be speaking. So tune in and join us. Until next time, I leave you with the encouraging words of the Apostle Paul, found in Ephesians 6, where he says, when you've done everything you can do, when you've prayed, when you've prepared, and when you've taken your stand, by all means, keep standing.
Washington Watch with Tony Perkins is brought to you by Family Research Council and is entirely listener-supported. Portions of the show discussing candidates are brought to you by Family Research Council Action. For more information on anything you've heard today, or to find out how you can partner with us in our ongoing efforts to promote faith, family, and freedom, visit TonyPerkins.com. Also, to leave a comment about Washington Watch, call our watch line at 1-866-372-7234. That's 1-866-372-7234.
Taken TV is making TV watchable again. Join us on the Active Kingdom Entertainment Network. Download Taken TV from your App Store now.